we continue our journey through Holy Week. Our reading for today, Good Friday, comes from the Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 15, beginning at the 21st verse. They compelled a passer-by who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Then they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him, and divided his clothes among them, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription on the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." With him they crucified 2 bandits, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by derided him, shaking their heads and saying, "Aha! You who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him, among them saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. Let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now, so that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also taunted him. When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran, filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick, and gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down." Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. The curtain of the temple was torn in 2, from top to bottom. Now when the centurion, who stood facing him, saw that this way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly this man was God's Son." We now enter the most holy episode of the church year, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Day. We have been steadily journeying towards this time since Ash Wednesday 6 weeks ago, and now we have arrived. I chose the account of the crucifixion from the Gospel according to St. Mark, an alternative reading for today, because of its simplicity. The writer of the Gospel tells the story without embellishment. We know exactly what is happening, and it is gruesome. It's very difficult to read, and even more difficult to hear when read in the course of the Good Friday service. The scene of the trial of Jesus in Mark, which occurs just before this reading, is different from the descriptions given in the other Gospels. In Mark, Jesus is silent. Yet as W.H. Vanston writes in The Stature of Waiting, throughout the trial and crucifixion, it is Jesus who is in control. Jesus' freedom is not taken from him. He hands himself over and lets salvation history take its course. Vanston tells us that the stillness and silence of Jesus is in stark contrast to our busyness. We set such great store on our activity. We value what we do rather than who we are. In difficult times like this, when so many are forced into inactivity, our identity is threatened. We always do our very best to avoid passivity, to avoid waiting. Making our way through Good Friday and finding meaning in it is probably the most daunting task that we face in understanding the gospel story. And yet this story, whoever we are, is at the centre of our worldview. And at the centre is the cross. The cross is the most easily recognised symbol of Christianity. It is universal and is not just confined to the Christian community. It is as prominent in the secular world. I have wrestled all my life with the cross. I find myself in an ambiguous relationship with it. I love its simplicity, but I hate its barbarity. Crucifixion was the punishment of choice in the Roman Empire and beyond. People in their thousands were humiliated, tortured, and executed by crucifixion. It was a horrible death. Wherever there was the whiff of insurrection against the empire, all those who were associated with it would have been summarily executed by crucifixion. The cross has the power to draw people together around it to become community. But at the same time, the cross is a forceful weapon of division and hatred and the destruction of community. However, over the years, I've accumulated a number of crosses, all of which are important to me and my spiritual journey. Each of them has a story. In the next segment, I want you to join me on a journey through my crosses.